This monstrous man did the unthinkable to his daughter. His name is Joseph Fritzl, a 42-year-old electrical engineer living in Austria. Joseph lives with his wife and his daughter Elizabeth, but this daughter has a huge problem. She has just been kidnapped and locked away, and it doesn't look like she's getting out anytime soon. Elizabeth has just turned 18, and she lives with her mom, dad, but she really doesn't get along with her dad. So Elizabeth and her dad are always fighting. Their relationship is just not going well. So one day, her dad had enough and he comes up with a crazy plan. He goes to Elizabeth and asks for her help, to help him down in the cellar with the door he was working on. So they go down into the cellar, and once she's there, suddenly, boom, he grabs her face with a towel soaked in ether, and it immediately makes her pass out. Sometime later that day, she wakes up, and she appears to be locked in some kind of underground chamber. So, this underground chamber, I guess Elizabeth's father is kinda of a survivalist, and underneath their house they have this cellar, and for years he has been working on turning it into a bomb shelter. This bomb shelter runs deep and has multiple rooms in it, and in one of these rooms deep in the cellar there's a bookshelf, and behind that bookshelf is a secret chamber, and now Elizabeth is locked in the secret chamber and there's no way for her to get out. At some point, her dad comes down into the chamber to see her, and she's like, "Why did you lock me here? Let me out." And he's like, "Nope," and he leaves her there. Now this little secret chamber she's in is really small, but it's livable. It has a small kitchen, a little bathroom, and two little bedroom areas. So anyway, in a bit of time passes pretty quickly, and Elizabeth's mom, Rosemary, notices that she's missing, and she's like, "Where is Elizabeth?" And her dad says she ran away and joined a cult. Her mom was devastated, wondering why Elizabeth did this, not knowing that her daughter is actually a prisoner locked deep down in a cellar below her. And from this point on, for whatever reason, her dad decides that he's going to have Elizabeth there indefinitely and is going to keep the secret from everyone. So every day also, he sneaks away from his family and goes down into the cellar and goes into the little chamber and brings Elizabeth food and supplies and other stuff that she needs. But that's not the only thing he does. He also sexually harasses her like a lot and horribly. And this goes on for like 4 or 5 years, and still he hasn't let her out. At this point, she has been sexually harassed by her dad so many times that she gets pregnant. So then, she eventually gives birth to a baby in this secret chamber, and she raises the baby down there because he won't let her out. And another year goes by and she gets pregnant again. So now she has two kids in this secret chamber. Then a few years later, he impregnates Elizabeth for the third time, but this baby, the father decides to take it upstairs and leaves it at the doorstep of his house. And he tells his wife it's a fondling. He tells her the bullshit story that Elizabeth had run away from home, got pregnant, and came back just to abandon the baby on her parents' doorstep so that she wouldn't have to take care of it. So Rosemary believes this story and she's like, "It's okay, I'll raise the baby." Then a year later, Elizabeth gets pregnant again and has a fourth child in the cellar. And again, her father takes it upstairs and tells his wife it's a fondling, and she believes in him and agrees to raise it. And this goes on for years. Elizabeth ends up having she ends up having 7 kids down in the cellar, but one of them dies during childbirth and her father burns the body. So she has 6 kids, and 3 of them are living upstairs with her own mother. Her dad tricked his own wife into raising the 3 kids upstairs while the other 3 lived downstairs with their mother locked in the cellar. The three kids have been living in captivity their whole life and they have never been outside. The oldest daughter, who is 19 years old, has never seen the sun. So the 19-year-old daughter is called Kirsten. One day in the cellar, she gets really sick to the extent that she becomes unconscious. And when Joseph comes down to check on them, Elizabeth is like, Kirsten is sick. Please take her to the hospital. And she begs him and eventually he agrees. So Joseph secretly carries Kirsten out of the cellar and puts her in his car and drives her to the hospital for treatment. The doctors see the girl and immediately be like, where's this girl's mother? And Joseph is like, we don't know where the mother is. She joined a cult and abandoned our daughter and left her with us. Then as Kirsten is there in the hospital getting treatment, she falls into a coma. So doctors, in order to treat her, they desperately need information about her medical history, information that Joseph didn't have. So they had to call the police and ask them to find Kirsten's mother. So then, police put out a missing persons report looking for Beth. They are holding a press conference with the media calling for Elizabeth to come forward, saying that her daughter is going to die if they don't get more information about her medical history. And Beth, who is still locked in the cellar, Elizabeth, of course. She has a little TV down there, and she sees the police on TV holding this press conference. So she knows they are looking for her. So the next time her father comes down into the cellar, she begs him to let her go out so that she can give the hospital the information that they need in order to treat her daughter. And eventually, her dad agrees, but then he tells her, if anyone asks you where you've been all these years, you have to tell them that you 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 have been in a secret cult and you have just escaped from the cult. So then Joseph sneaks Elizabeth and her two remaining kids out of the cellar and drives them to the hospital. Now remember, this is the first time these kids have ever been in a car, and this is the first time they have been outside of the cellar. So they all get to the hospital and immediately the police detain Elizabeth and they are going to charge her with child abuse because they believe she abandoned our daughter and joined a cult. But then once they separated her from her father to get her talking, she reveals everything, the entire truth. And the police is shocked at this story because when all is said and done, Elizabeth had been locked in that secret chamber for 24 good years. She went in when she was 18 and came out when she was 42 years old. She also tells them that her dad sexually harassed her over 3,000 times. So they arrested Joseph. He eventually admits to everything and confessed to charges of enslavement, rape, incest, and murder by negligence of the infant who died. He goes to prison and is sentenced to life imprisonment in 2009 in a psychiatric prison. The good thing is that the 19-year-old is now okay and fully recovered. Beth and her 6 children are finally free and they are trying to live a normal life in Austria with new identities.